Hey, it's a Riot game. It's okay. I don't know about TFT yet, though. I mean, Mismatch Sock's easily one of the best players in the world. Nobody with, half a brain is going to contest that fact. But, his tournament results have been a little bit up and down. So, can he get it done in this environment? We'll see. I think he's got the talent, but it's been a struggle for him here and there. But I'm excited again, of course, to see Panda play our other Korean representative in this group. And, it's just a lot of players from a lot of regions that we're just kind of getting to know. So it's going to be neat.
And Primal, for you, if you were a competitor, made it all the way to the TFT Galaxies Championship, which one of these players would just absolutely strike fear into your heart?
I mean, Socks with the confidence, man. When a guy comes in and says, I want to be the faker of TFT, you know he's got some sauce. So definitely I'd be intimidated by that statement. Also, a more interesting storyline coming out of Europe, Casey 61, whose face is shrouded in mystery, is only 16 years old. So if we're talking about Faker's a prodigy. He was killing it the moment he could play League of Legends. This kid is apparently killing it too. So he might be someone to watch out for as well.
I think he was 15 when he won his first championship. Faker, that is. So, yeah, about the same age.
So what you're saying is Casey Double is falling behind if he wants to follow in Faker's footsteps. No, I'm just kidding. Still 16.
All I'm saying is that whenever I see KC 61, my brain says KFC Double Down, and I don't know why that is, but it's been happening all week, and I can't stop it. I'm not going to eat one, but my brain is going there.
Your arteries immediately clogging up at the thought every time that
I would never eat one of those.
Well, how about this? How about this? Being 16 years old, winning the entire championship, and going home with $40,000 as the first place prize. That would be absolutely insane. First place
Sounds
going
good, right? Because it depends on what styles players prefer. So, yeah, I don't think it's going to really affect much. We could see something totally different in terms of general comps used here.
Awesome. Well, it looks like we are about to get into that first game of the second lobby. 8 more tacticians ready to whittle it down to the 4th. Latigris, why don't you take us away?
Yay! Lobby number 2 of the day. We'll find out who our remaining 4 finalists are going into tomorrow's festivities. But it is really cool seeing exactly how these lobbies are turning out, what comps that we are noticing, because compared to early on in a set when you're looking at the showcases where the meta constantly evolves from lobby to lobby because no one knows exactly what it is, when we're here and a championship is on the line, people have kind of the set of what they're bringing to the table.
Yeah. Interesting. We saw a three Xayah shop for 61 there, so we'll have to see if he decides to go with that. In the end, Xayah 2 early on can be very strong to win streak with early, but we're in a super dense galaxy. It seems like super dense is just like the galaxy of choice for the first day of the championships here. This is our 3rd one.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised.
And we had 2 trade sector too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we haven't seen more Big Bang, considering I think there's a 20% chance to see Big Bang. And have we seen any Big Bang yet?
No, we have
Are we
not.
low rolling? I think we're low rolling.
Sad, yeah.
I hope we do get to see it at some point, for sure.
Yeah.
But then again, like it's also the least practiced galaxy. So part of me like feels for the pros, and I want to see them play on what they're more used to. But part of me just wants to see the insanity, right?
Yeah, I'm another vote for insanity. Go ahead, Tiger.
I was just saying, with 10 rounds of the day, we're 5 games deep, 20% chance of Big Bang. So statistically, even though it's technically a fresh roll for every game, we should hopefully get at least one by the end of the day. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, one should hope so.
Have to have Mort confirm those percentages or something. But we're on board now with Slooper right now. Slooper comes to us from, I believe, Brazil. And see what he decides to go with here. He's playing really wide. Oh, wow. Early Syndra. And Hextech is so good on Syndra right now. That would be very tempting to me.
Oh, yeah. He should just instantly play that Syndra with the Gunblade. And
he's got a Nico as well.
He can even level and play Star Guardians if he wants to. He can play Protector Star Guardians. So this is an extremely strong opening for him, and I love the move to level here. Now the question is, can he get the components that allow him to win late? Because he's certainly going to win early. Later in the game, you really want belts on Nico, ideally a Warmogs, and you really need blue buff on Syndra. So the only concern is, if he starts win streaking here, will he be able to get the components he needs?
Oh, is he going to do it? Because I would say don't slam the Hex Tech first, because you want to see what components you get from possibly the carousel. But Hex Tech is a great item on Cinder now. She nearly always gets that shield that you get if you end up overhealing from the Hex Tech effect. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, trying to get those cast off more consistently. It's hard at this point, right? Because you get excited that you see these Star Guardians starting to already commit into these, but I do like the fact that he's waiting on the itemization, since it is still so early for things to just go completely wrong if you tunnel vision way too much in that aspect. And hey, Slooper is now the only one remaining to try and put Brazil on the map in terms of regional representation, since Hajche was eliminated in the first lobby.
Yep.
He is.
True enough.
Doing it for the motherland there. And yeah, on the point about not slamming Gunblade, I could see it if maybe what he's trying to do is lose streak so he can get the tier and the belt. But the thing with the sword in this build is there's only really 2 items that are good with sword if you're playing Star Guardians. That's Gunblade and GA, and I think Gunblade's clearly better than GA here. So it's a little bit weird to me to first level and then not slam the item, especially considering it would save you HP. But you know, this is a really good player, and different players have different styles.
No, that's a really good point, though. That there's not a whole lot of other uses for sword, and frankly, unless you're thinking about Ionic Spark being a priority over Hex Tech, there's not a whole lot of reason to save the rod either. So that's a really good point. Looks like we're swapping over to a different view right now. This is going to be one of our Chinese representatives, I believe, but I'm not quite sure which one it is. By process of elimination.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at the names.
It appears to be it's Zhuanzi.
Ah,
yeah.
Got it.
You worked at that
Good job,
the quickest. Appreciate
Just
it.
in
I
time.
was looking down the names like one of us will eventually figure it out. But Zhuanzi, yep, coming in to represent China here today.
Yep.
A little bit of brawler action early and some rebels.
All right, so this is North America versus China right here. This is a huge battle that, there's more than just a few HP on the line here. This is the one hope for North America that he's facing.
So the last time North America and China clashed in TFT was the Starside Invitational way back in, I want to say it was like April or something like that. April, maybe early May. And NA did come out on top with that one, but China had a pretty fair showing too.
Yeah, and whoa, okay, this carousel is
right.
If I'm one of the players who's in the bottom half, I'm kind of upset about this carousel. Because the thing is, when you get an all single item carousel, anyone who has been lose streaking for a specific item kind of gets screwed over. So it's going to be interesting to see how the players who now are forced to play a rod have to adapt. That said, for certain people who definitely benefit from this, now I think it was Slooper who had Star Guardians can just choose to slam a death cap if they really want to, and maybe they save that sword for higher purpose. So it's good for some people, but it's definitely frustrating for others.
Yeah. Well.
And he was one of the ones that looked like he was looking to wait out to see what was on the carousel, and then first reaction may have been, oh no, all same item, but oh wait, rod is okay for me. That's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
go ahead, Doa.
Oh, I was just gonna say, Zhuanzi right now, able to stay on top by virtue of those couple 2-stars. Finding the Vi early is kind of nice as well, but still, a little bit unsure maybe about what he wants to end up using the items with. Playing against Double 61 here.
Yeah, Double 61 really made a splash through the qualifiers. Ended up being the one to win it, to come in as a top seed, as y'all said, a young protege here, and also does claim that watching is just as important as playing, as many people have discussed with the game of TFT, having about a 70 to 30% split, 70% watching other players to learn, 30% playing the games. So something to consider for anyone that's aspiring to be pro, because obviously that context has allowed him to really soar within the eyes of many in the competitive scene.
Yeah, so
Yeah, and
Primal,
I
I've got a
think,
question for you then relating to that, because as someone who's making a run at the pro scene right now, what do you think about that breakdown? 70% watching, 30% playing?
It's definitely better than the breakdown I have, which is like 90% playing and like 10% watching. And I'm looking to fix that in my own, the way I train. But yeah, you know, TFT, the cool thing about it is all the information needed to play the game is visible when you watch someone else play. So by watching the best players, you can pick up a lot of stuff. And when you're already an extremely good player yourself, it's easy for you to watch the game, even if it doesn't have commentary, and pick up little intricacies of comps that you don't play. So I love that Double spends this much time really studying film. You know, in professional sports, players watch film all the time. And I'm actually curious to know if Double has spent as much time watching these players who he's going to be playing against and tailoring his strategy for them. That would be interesting to see if we ever get the chance to talk to him. But I think that's a really intelligent way to approach the game.
Yeah, certainly watching the ones that he can watch anyway. It can be a little bit tough to find VODs here and there from other regions. But I agree. We know other players, like, you know, we've got Crone on the broadcast. He's well known for researching his opponents pretty extensively before coming into a tournament lobby. And he's performed really well in a lot of tournaments, I think, because of that. So it does seem like a good way to approach it, if you can.
Research is great. I mean, somebody that did the whole grad school thing, that is pretty much research all the way through. You know, if you have a love for it, TFT is definitely something that translates research skills very well. If you are somebody that enjoys learning, which I think most people that play these kind of games are, because it is so strategy based. But we are going to get to check in with Mismatch Stocks, the NA representative, and Primal, you have done some coaching directly with him, correct?
I did, and he's clearly has a gifted mind for TFT. The thing that stuck out to me most in the coaching was just how smart he is about positioning. I think a lot of North American and European players are familiar with his RE positioning guide, where he showed players a lot of intricacies about how to use RE to maximal effectiveness. And just generally speaking, I think his positioning on all comps is so clean and so consistently powerful, and allows him to get results that a lot of other players are not able to get the results with the same comp. So if you were to make a look, like one of the, you know, like those Pokemon graphs that show like this champion has the most dexterity or strength, I would say positioning might be where Mismatch Stocks tops everyone else.
S tier positioning for sure.
S tier.
That RE guide was really fun to read. And that's a strong Poppy, but it looks like it's still going to be a little bit of a rough loss early on. But again, you know, you're generally not terribly worried about that unless you're really trying hard to win streak. But I think we're going to see more and more players going for Star Guardians as the day goes on here.
It almost feels like sometimes when you don't see things earlier in the day, it's not that the players discount it or don't think it's strong. Obviously, every game is a whole new situation depending on what you roll into. But then there's also kind of that nice reminder as you see those comps doing well too, and you look back and think, if I see this, maybe I'll start going into it. But the Poppy, so obviously in the older variations of Star Guardian where Poppy was a bit more focused, putting those items here, would you say this is just to try and increase that tankiness on that Vanguard front line, hold on in this early game to make sure he's not losing too much HP?
Yeah, I think what happened here is he got a lot of rods, and he was like, I just need to start spending these rods. So he decided to make a death cap. Death cap's usually not an item you slam, because it's usually not like best in slot in too many different comps. But when you get a ton of an item, you don't want to have all that power sitting on your bench. So he's like, okay, I'll slam this. It's good on Poppy because she hits the farthest unit, who's often a carry, and she gets a huge shield. So it'll help him save a lot of HP while he looks to eventually pivot into what looks like Star Guardians.
Yep, certainly could. A couple rumbles. That's kind of interesting. You can go for a couple different sort of front lines as you're building towards Star Guardians. One is Protector is really common. Vanguards works as well. Rarely you can go Demolitionist. I've seen success, and I've had success with like a Rumble 2 and a Ziggs thrown into this. It's rare. You barely see it, but I think it's worth mentioning because it can be pretty strong. But for now, we're going to just see him stick with the same thing that he's been working on. But yeah, it does look like he wants to go Star Guardians, but he's kind of got the Sniper's option loaded up as well, if that's what comes to. That is such an early mech. Oh my gosh, 3-3 mech for Chauncey.
That's a high roll. Not only did he high roll mech, he is at 100 HP already. So you see this and you're like, well, this guy's having a great game to start the lobby.
Yeah.
So
got
it's
a
hard
glove
to
on
actually
his bench
see.
too.
Yeah, it's hard to see when does Zhuangzi actually fall off. He might just win streak into infinity, and it's almost, I look at this and I'm like, this guy's already top 4. It's a pretty high roll game, so good for him.
Yeah.
That's a really strong. You got that mech all the way already. There was a 2-star Ziggs just to amp up with the demolitionist a tad. Had the bramble vest there to keep that mech even more tanky during that time. So I would definitely be worried if I was any of these other players going against him.
Yeah, and we need a representative from China to get through to tomorrow. It would be weird if none of the Chinese players made it through. We've got 2 in this group, so we've got a better chance. But Chen from our last group wasn't able to make it through, so it's kind of on AlphaGo and Zhuangzi to make something happen this lobby.
Yeah, no pressure, right?
Right. Especially considering how a lot of people that are watching this from the other regions just don't have that much experience watching players like Zhuangzi because of, like Doa was saying, it's difficult to access the VODs and things in those times. So sometimes people are going to be looking at them even more to make a show out on what people perceive to be one of the potentially strongest regions coming through. We'll see how he fares in this matchup.
Oh my god, this is like the dream mech game. So not only does he already have a QSS on mech, he has really good items ready to go for Victor. He has half a blue buff or Shojins, and he has the rod to eventually make the Morellos, which is core on Victor. So he's in a really great spot. The only thing that's not ideal is Bramble Vest. It's not super great later in the game, but it makes up for it by helping you win streak early in the game, and I'm guessing that's part of why he hasn't lost a single round yet. So just a huge health advantage that he's going to have will allow him to make up for the fact that he doesn't have absolutely perfect items. So really, really strong position for Zhuangzi, and he should just look to go 8 because he already has a fizz too. What is going on here?
Oh wow, yeah, you're right. What? This game is insane. So he must have gotten a fizz. He must have high rolled a fizz, and then he also must have gotten a couple Nikos from one of the neutral rounds. This guy is out here playing like a Big Bang, and everyone else is just playing Super Dance, apparently.
Yeah, secret access to the galaxy that we're all hoping to see right
Apparently.
under our noses.
Yeah.
Next, he's gonna get a force. He got the force of nature. Maybe he's been getting free rolls every round. It could be that this guy's on Big Bang and everyone else is here on Earth.
Could be. Definitely a step above everyone else in this lobby right now. That said, if you look at these items on this Lucian here, and that's the kind of thing that's going to deal well with the mech, and he's actually going to drop around here. When it comes down to it, Giant Slayer and Deathblade are the 2 items that really, really handle mech. Hey, how about a Fizz 3? Let's go. All right, but so if we end up with a comp that has Jin in those items, or theoretically Blasters can do it too. There are ways to handle this.
Yeah.
I can't remember which qualifier it was, but I think there was one where we were even seeing triple Giant Slayer, where there were a lot of mech compositions being run there, an opportunity to specifically tech against that kind of difficulty, and Lucian being a strong mid-game carry to slap those items on to take care of the business.
Yeah, those are great points you made, and now looking at AlphaGo, he actually already has 2 Giant Slayers. So even though it looked like Zhuangzi, I think he's certainly still top 4s, but a first is going to be really difficult because the Bramble Vest is not particularly helpful when you're facing people who have Giant Slayer, because one of the unique effects of Bramble Vest is that it negates damage from critical hits. But with Giant Slayer, you're not all that reliant on critical hits. So from this spot, it's actually kind of difficult for Zhuangzi to take a first, because anyone who has Giant Slayer is going to kill his mech super, super fast. What he might want to do is go for another dodge item, like a Shroud or a Trap Claw even, to help him just avoid the auto attacks outright.
I think it's a good idea. Notably, both of our Chinese players on top of this lobby so far. It's still early, but strong start for AlphaGo as well, as we're looking at his view. Playing against Panda from South Korea. Panda is from the city of Daejeon, which is in the center of South Korea, and I know it well because my grandmother-in-law actually lives there, so I've been to that city many times, and it's a nice little town.
The City of Science.
Why is it called City of Science? Yeah.
It's called the City of Science because they had some big like science expose kind of not expose exhibition, kind of like a World's Fair kind of thing, but for science there back in a decade or 2 ago. I don't exactly know where it was, but there's this park with all this sciencey stuff, like there's a big rocket ship and all this. So it's known as the City of Science because of this event that happened years ago.
The Five-Head
that's
City.
so cool.
Yeah, pretty much. So you know this dude's smart. Comes from the city of science. Yeah.
Totally. And it's also cool because just like how we were saying with Obo earlier, even though he didn't make it through those rounds to make it to tomorrow, how excited he was to represent his region being from Australia. Panda shares a similar sentiment. I believe the direct quote is, "This is my first time in life being the representative of anything, so I can't find the words to describe how it feels." And he looks locked in, ready to try and take a win for the region.
And AlphaGo, I don't know if you guys saw just how quickly the Vayne shredded that mech. So that's that's the Vayne 1, right? Who basically, you know, killed the mech in 4 or 5 hits, purely off the strength of Giant Slayer. So that's going to continue to be a problem later in the game for Yuanzi.
Yep, sure will. So we're going to jump over to Panda's perspective, it looks like. Doing a little bit of scouting here.
Looked like there were a couple Syndras that had already started stacking on. I believe both of them had a death cap. This one right here being only a 1-star, but I believe I saw at least another 2-star. But he looks like he has some flexibility on where he could go from here. He's not committed, but the Nico is also 2-star. Got the Warmogs on already for that tankiness right up front, in front of the face of that mech.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to break through that Nico, but at the same time, like this Syndra's still a 1-star, so doing damage pretty slowly.
Syndra's so good.
Oh, all right, yeah.
That's enough for this.
I think she's got this. I think she's got this all day. No, she's got it. She's got it. One more.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, nice. Yeah, Syndra, pretty good unit.
I thought she was going to get the triple kill.
Yeah, sometimes she does that, right? She just gets stronger over the course of the fight. So we've seen multiple. I think we've seen 2 mech for sure. I think we've seen multiple mech players and multiple Star Guardian players, if I'm not mistaken. So I actually think if you're AlphaGo, who had the Vayne with double Giant Slayer, you're feeling really good about your spot right now. Because although normally Cybers has an issue with facing Star Guardians, when the Star Guardian has a Warmogs, or the Nico rather has a Warmogs, and Giant Slayer is on your Vayne, he has absolutely no problem dealing with the front line anymore, and then the rest of the team kind of falls apart. So I actually think this is a game where the Cyber players have an advantage because of their itemization versus the high health front lines.
Interesting. I mean, you're absolutely right. That's something that people have kind of discovered, I think, as the season or as the set is kind of drawn to a close, is just like the importance of Giant Slayer. Like, everyone's always said it's a pretty good item, but I feel like it wasn't until maybe about a month ago that we saw people seriously start to intentionally stack it in situations like this.
And it's interesting in the sense that it also shows how each game just develops, because yes, we've seen Giant Slayer, but we're obviously seeing more in this lobby where there are those bigger units to try to attack. And clearly some response by the players.
Oh, the Star Guardian mirror matchup. So I personally find this matchup so frustrating because the way Syndra works is kind of weird here. What'll happen is every time Syndra ults, more orbs will be put on the field. So it's actually kind of to your advantage for your Syndra to cast second rather than first, so that the enemy Syndra casts, then you pick up her orbs and throw it right back at her. So that's actually a pretty difficult matchup to play sometimes, where it's kind of just down to RNG. So I'm actually curious to see what adaptations the players make if it ends up being a Star Guardian mirror matchup for first and second place.
Yeah, it's kind of a unique interaction that both Syndras use both Syndra's orbs when they ult. It can get a little bit weird, but like you said, yeah, you kind of almost want to go second.
And I think that's one of those things that's developed over time, too, because I think the original Syndra 1 didn't recast on... Like, if she killed somebody, I don't think she redirected, and there's some minor changes since this set first dropped that's really made her into this powerful option.
Right. So she got a really nice buff. I think it was around 3.5, where... oh, my goodness. All right.
That Gnar ult was so bad.
Pretty good, yeah.
It was so bad.
Yeah, just to finish your point, Latigris, yeah, Syndra got a buff where her ultimate, if it overkills, so if there's more orbs going in even after a target is dead, they'll go to the next target, whereas before they didn't do that. You would just kind of like ult a low health target and just lose a ton of damage. So it's just a great quality of life change for Syndra that they put in 3.5.
This is really interesting positioning by Panda. Normally you see the Nico out frontline solo so that all the melee units surround Nico and Nico just stuns them. I'm wondering if Panda is actually putting the Jarvan up front because the Jarvan has Thief's Gloves, so it has a lot of dodge and can maybe tank the Giant Slayer players actually a little bit better. If that is the reason, I think that's pretty brilliant. Because normally, you know, when you position, you sort of just fall into a default positioning. But if he's assuming he scouted the lobby and just saw the itemization and made this change, that's actually really, really smart by Panda.
That's a really good point. Yeah, that's brilliant if that's exactly the reason he's doing that. Because that is one of the ways to mitigate the Giant Slayers, just by putting a lot of dodge in there. Which old Nico builds did do, but I haven't done as much lately.
Mm-hmm.
That is that responsiveness we're talking about that these top players are really adept to make, and a unit like Nico where you really want her to get that ult off to be able to get that CC. It would be unfortunate if she accidentally got popped right at the start. Now we're going to get to see how this plays out with her standing a little bit behind where she's used to, and Nico on the opposite side with some items to boot to keep her healthy.
Well, I'll tell you what's disappointing is rolling down to 0 gold and not finding a Syndra 2. That is really rough.
That sucks.
And then seeing the Syndra 2 on the other side and saying, I wish you were mine. But you're not.
The Syndra 2 they told you not to worry about. But yeah, there's I think there are 3 Star Guardian players in this lobby. Not everyone can hit Janna.
I was thinking that.
Yeah, so the thing is, you don't really want to run 6 Star Guardian unless you have a spat where you can make Victor a Star Guardian, or when you hit Janna. So this actually might just come down to who hits Janna first, unfortunately. And I feel like one of the players who's not playing Star Guardians is probably going to win this lobby, given how contested this comp is and how prevalent Giant Slayers already are. Oh, there's Janna.
All right. Well, sometimes you just hit Janna. So that is certainly pretty good. So he can go up to 6 Star Guardians now, which is also nice, because we're getting to the point in the game where if you hit 6 Star Guardians before another Star Guardian player, you're going to have a little bit of an edge there as well. But I agree with what you said, Primal. I think it's pretty unlikely that one of these players wins the lobby, just because you can't split it. You can have 2 people running it, but 3 is really starting to stretch those champion resources thin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because even looking, oh great, there's a Syndra in the shop, but how many people are running Syndra to try and keep grabbing those? Luckily, he had the 2-star already. Slooper did. I can't remember exactly who's still waiting to finish theirs off, but it's getting pretty tight with those resources.
Yeah.
Well, Panda was. I think Panda is out in 8th already. So,
yikes.
yeah.
That effect
knocked
being
out.
seen.
Quick top 8, that happens sometimes if you're contested. You know, we can see, too, that, Slooper is at 6 with only 11 HP. So, yeah, it's just kind of an issue where a lot of people contesting the same thing.
I think Panda was one of the first to go for the Star Guardian, too. I believe he was one that had early on rolled into some things. Unfortunately, wasn't able to pull it through here in the end, so he'll be the first to exit, but it is just game number 1. There are 5 in total that everyone in this lobby will be competing through to get as many points to make that top 4.
Exactly. And if I'm Panda, it sucks, but I don't feel too bad, because at the end of the day, he had a good start for Star Guardians. It made sense to go for it. Unfortunately, he got double contested on it, and that just happens. You know, sometimes it be like that. You just you shake it off. You go into the next game knowing you're still a solid player. But I think right now this is mainly going to be a fight between, well, Sox apparently I guess is the winning Star Guardian because he's win streaking right now and doing super well. And then the mech player who is doing really well, Juanzi, and then probably Cybers. So it's going to be interesting to see of those comps who manages the top.
Sox has his win streak ended, though, and down in 5th place. Pretty big difference between 5th place and 6th place in this game. And we'll see how he goes from there. But now it's Cupiditas from Argentina who's on the win streak. But I think we're going to have a pretty tight top 4.
Ooh,
Yeah,
did
I
Sasha just
think
get a
so.
Star Guardian spat? I think he just got a Star Guardian spat. That's awesome for him.
Yeah. That's
Yes, please show us.
good. If you can
Yep.
put on a Victor or something like that. Scout him. Scout him.
Scout him!
Yeah.
No.
I think he got it,
Teased at this point.
Yeah.
right?
I guess
Yeah,
we'll
I
find
think-
out.
Protector Spatula item is actually really good for Slooper as well. You can do things like put that on the Syndra to give her a little bit of a shield, and that's what he's going to do. So that's kind of a lesser used defensive item that can be really good. But the thing is, it's probably the worst defensive item for Syndra because her hit points are low to begin with. So getting that Protector buff doesn't help you a lot. It doesn't help you that much because the shield is going to be fairly small.
4 HP to Slooper's name going into this, one of the remaining Star Guardian players of this match. So if he does manage to fall out, then Sox will be very happy about that lack of contest from here on out. Going against this mech comp, and there's a Victor right there in the back that has that Morelos.
Yeah, this is a really interesting matchup. I play a lot of mech lately, so I feel like I have a decent handle on the mech versus Star Guardian matchup. A lot of it's dependent on whether you can put the mech on the same side as all the carries and not on the same side as the Nico. Because what'll happen is usually the mech will get stuck on the Nico if you just leave him dead center and get perma-stunned, especially if they don't have QSS. But if you can put the mech on the correct side, it's actually a really easy matchup for the mech player. So it's kind of a skill matchup where you need to position well to win.
So double 61 is still in that #1 spot. We see Slooper on the opposite side here, moments away from potential death. AlphaGo looking to put the nail in the coffin, but not able to do so.
Poor AlphaGo. He has a random bow stuck on his vein that he never completed into anything. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the danger of slamming a half item, right? Like sometimes you don't find the item that you need, and now you have your primary carry with a pretty much, with a half an item that doesn't do anything for them, and it's really hard to get stronger from this point. So I think that's actually a really, really big problem for AlphaGo, and kind of a big mistake if we're being honest.
So, looking at our top 4 now, Cupiditas actually tied, I suppose, with AlphaGo here, but the I almost said it, double 61 on top of 32, but only barely over mismatched Sox, so it still should be a pretty quick top 4, or close top 4 out there. The question is, who's going to take 5th and who's going to take 4th?
Yeah, that's the tough spot right here when making top 4 is what matters to accumulate those points for tomorrow. And it's so tight between everyone later in the game when these slams start happening pretty hard. Got to be on the edge of your seat.
Absolutely. I think to the question of who goes 4th and 5th, unless AlphaGo hits something like an Echo 2 right here, I think it's kind of hard for him to win because his items ended up being pretty bad, right? Has his random Star Guardian charm, doesn't really do anything for the team. Does get to remake the Vayne, so he made Star Guardian Vayne, so he has true damage on the Vayne instead of needing armor penetration. So that's a really nice adaptation. That's something you can do if you struggle to hit the Last Whisper. So now the Vayne will do true damage. So it's not as good as having just Last Whisper, Infinity Edge, and Giant Slayer, but it's still pretty good. And he got himself out of a tough spot. So really creative play by AlphaGo.
A lot of damage.
And now he's just steamrolling the enemy team. Beautiful.
Look at that. That Vayne's damage. Yeah, now that it's been swapped over with the Star Guardian bangle is just crazy. So, yeah, he may be able to get a little bit higher than 4th here. We'll see. Cupiditas out in 5th, though.
Oh, so we are in our top 4, everybody. Yep. That means mismatched Sox. We have double 61 in the #4 spot, but our eyes are on AlphaGo.
And it's the non-Star Guardian player that gets the Janna 2 first. That's
sometimes life isn't fair, right? And one thing I think that's been helping AlphaGo a lot in this game is actually the Blitzcrank Fiora Zephyr combo. He's been using it super well to exploit the enemy carries and just leaving them positions where they just can't avoid the hooks. So look at that. Disables the Vayne, pulls a Fiora, which is not super great, but like, where do you go? How do you hide? You can't.
There is nowhere to hide.
Nowhere to go, nowhere to hide. And
oh, wow. Ash hitting back line, too.
Yeah, even got the arrow out. That's going to be a slam. Double 61 knocked out in the #4 spot.
Sox down to 5 HP as well, so NA's hopes and dreams on the line. But hey, it's a top 3, so it's going to be decent either way. But the big story here, both of our Chinese players, 1 and 2, once again in the lobby. Zhuangzi and AlphaGo having a really, really strong game 1.
For sure. Yeah, that corner that you were talking about. Sorry, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, you go ahead, actually. I think we were going to say the same thing, so you get to go.
I was just coming what you were making before that point about that corner where you have the Blitz and the Fiora, but then also kind of having the Vayne protected, but he does decide to switch it over. We're in those final moments where you can get a bit more specific in your guessing game for this positioning.
Mm-hmm. And this fight is just a story of Giant Slayers, right? You know, the Vayne just nuked the Nico down. I actually would have liked to see him just Zephyr the Nico instead. Because the Nico didn't have a Quicksilver Sash at all, but it just didn't really matter. At the end of the day, his items are super good for this matchup. And now, you know, Sox, respectable third place finish, but AlphaGo playing extremely creatively with his items. And I really love to see this.
So I was talking to a friend of mine who's over in China in the Chinese scene, and he was saying AlphaGo is on a team called Alpha. So he's on a team with other TFT players. No doubt that helped him get really good prep coming into this one. And Zhuangzi is a known to be a very good player and also a popular streamer over there. So these are definitely kind of two of China's best coming into lobby too, and they're showing it in game one.
Absolutely, to make it to the top two off the start, that's pretty strong to represent your region.
Absolutely. AlphaGo, I'm pretty sure, is also a computer program that like beat a Go player. Sort of
that's the one that they.
Yeah,
right.
the one that it beat the best Go player or something like that. So I wonder if it's a play on that. Maybe he's saying he basically has the mind of a computer. I believe it based on this play, given how quickly he's adapted to his item situation. And right now, I think it's very, very. Go ahead, Doa.
Oh, no, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it doesn't matter because the game's over, I guess. Zhuangzi takes out